I'm happy Gurney's getting put on the map. I'm the same county of it, and it's for something so sick. Yeah, Obama getting sucked dry in fucking Gurney is the greatest way that Gurney, Illinois could ever be put on the map. Anyway, let's get going. Special grand jury report. Senators mentioned the special grand jury report in the Georgia election indictments coming down for Senator Lindsey Jebediah Graham, former Senator Kelly Loeffler, and former Senator David Perdue.
The special grand jury recommended that they face charges. The district attorney.
Have you been recognized in Mexico yet? Yes, I have been.
Did not end up charging them. These are the 19 people that the district attorney has charged, has alleged, has taken part in a criminal enterprise led by Donald Trump to overturn the 2020 election. These are the mugshots. These are the 19 charged. What is the difference between this report and what we are dealing with, what we are looking at with the eventual indictment? CNN's Evan Perez, Paula Reed, they're standing by with details on this. Paula, let me start with you. What are your major takeaways from this?
Well, Kate, I want to think about these in two groups in terms of the people who were not charged. Let's first start with the lawmakers, Senator Lindsey Graham and former Georgia Senators Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue. Now, these are probably going to create the biggest headlines here, particularly Senator Lindsey Graham, because he's a sitting senator. But when you look at the vote count, sort of how the members of the special grand jury came back, it was clear they were divided on whether these individuals should be charged. There was a recommendation, but it was not unanimous, and it wasn't just one person voting no. So it's pretty clear why the district attorney would not proceed with charges, because this is the most friendly environment possible for her case, right? You don't have lawyers in the room with witnesses. You don't have a defense presentation. There isn't a high bar. You can indict a ham sandwich is, of course, the famous saying. This is not beyond a reasonable doubt. So if you have problems with a case before a special grand jury, you're going to have big problems in a real courtroom. It's pretty clear why she wouldn't proceed against these three individuals. But when it comes to the other group that we're all talking about, which is a group of Trump advisors, Cleta Mitchell, Mike Flynn, and Boris Epshteyn. Both Flynn and Epshteyn tend to advise Trump at the national level after the election, where Cleta Mitchell was actually on the ground in Georgia. But here, these recommendations, the math, the votes from the special grand jury mirror those of people who were actually charged, like Rudy Giuliani or former President Trump. So that's going to actually probably raise a lot of questions about exactly why they were not charged. But Kate, I think another big question that's going to be out there is whether we should have access to all of this. Of course, CNN was one of the media outlets that pushed to have this historic document unsealed. But usually grand jury proceedings are done in secret to protect witnesses, to give them the freedom and the sense of security to speak freely, and also to protect people who are not ultimately charged, because now we have all these names out there. We have the math for how they voted in terms of recommending them to be charged, but they don't actually have a mechanism or a process to clear their name, besides the fact that they weren't charged. So far in the state of Georgia, what we've seen is consistently they have erred far on the side of transparency. We have cameras in the courtroom, so
they will never take down former advisor Michael Flynn, okay? Michael Flynn, the most honorable general of all time, okay? Michael Flynn, Cat Turd's greatest follower. Michael Flynn, the Turkish bandit. Honorary Turk Michael Flynn is currently under attack. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, okay? They're coming after him because he wanted to bring justice to Turkey by finally putting that CIA asset, Fethullah Gülen, in a burlap sack, okay, and kidnap him alongside his son, not Fethullah Gülen's son. He wanted to kidnap him with his son, and he is forever being punished for these things that should not be considered a crime. Instead of being celebrated for being awesome and doing the right thing, they're trying to arrest him. Bullshit. I'll tell you what, not allowed.
Anyone can watch these proceedings,
It ain't
even the
fair,
mundane
brother.
scheduling and logistics proceedings. We also saw, though, the members of this special grand jury, their names were published with this indictment, and many of them have been doxxed online and faced threats. And now we get access, again, to this historic document. It's something CNN and other outlets
Looking up about the other officials that are not charged here that we're
fuck.
learning.
What did I just do?
Again, to this historic document. It's something CNN and other outlets pushed for, but there is a balance when it comes to transparency. I think that's going to be part of the conversation going forward as well.
All right, Paul, thank you for that. Evan, let me bring you in on this. What are you picking up about the other officials that are not charged here that we're learning about?
Well, right. There are 21 names that are listed on this list of 39 names, people who were recommended that they be brought charges against, that ended up not being charged. And of course, the names, some of them Paula just pointed out, the names of officials, right? People in very high-level positions who were very, very much involved in trying to either pressure state officials to try to find this, the alleged fraud that Donald Trump and his allies said existed, and of course didn't. And of course, some of them went to extraordinary means. Some of them we saw in public, of course. But Lindsey Graham, obviously, the fact that he is a sitting senator, the one that certainly has spoken a lot. You've seen him talk to reporters about what he thought was going on. The idea that the grand jury ended up voting 20 votes to 1 to bring charges, and then the district attorney decided not to bring those charges, obviously is a big question that I think will persist after today. The other thing that obviously will come from this is, what exactly did turn up in this investigation? Is there something else that might come out in some of the discovery that we might see later on? Again, those are big questions that are going to be going forward in the weeks and months as this case goes forward. Of course, there's also David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler, two former senators. Both of them lost their seats in the end, partly because of their efforts associating themselves with the former president's claims of fraud, which turned out not to be. In the case of Perdue, he pushed for the governor to actually have a special session, something that, of course, the former president was pushing for, wanted to make sure that the legislature intervened to try to throw the votes, the election results in that state, and then make way for the slate of false electors, which are also named, by the way, Kate, in this document. That the false electors were named by the grand jury. It was a much closer vote. There were only 9 votes to indict them in the end. Obviously, that didn't happen. But what's interesting, obviously, is the role of these high-level officials, that some of which obviously played out in public view, and in the end, Fani Willis decided for whatever reason that she was not going to bring those charges, perhaps because of the additional political implications of it and the difficulty that would present for her case, Kate.
Interesting. Evan, thank you so much. Paul, thank you as well. Going to continue working their sources on this. Sarah?
All right, we want to talk about sort of some of the politics of this. I want to get straight to CNN Chief Congressional Correspondent Manu Raju, who was up on Capitol Hill. Manu, you have talked to Senator Graham about this. I mean, the biggest revelation.
This part is the best part. This is the nut part. Apparently, he was on the verge of fucking tears when he was delivering a response.
Really from this, because really what we have here is, who the grand jury thought should be indicted, who wasn't indicted, and what the law is. We don't have all the details on exactly how they got to that place and all of the evidence that was put before the grand jury in this 25 or 26 page report. But you had a conversation with Lindsey Graham about all of this, and he's obviously a sitting senator and the one that's going to make the most news, frankly, from this. What did he say, and what was your takeaway, your biggest takeaway from your conversation?
Yeah, recall this is right after the 2020 elections. There was Brad Raffensperger spoke publicly about this phone call that he had with Lindsey Graham. He believed that Lindsey Graham was essentially pressuring him or wanted to get rid of legally valid ballots, and that could, in Raffensperger's view, disenfranchise the voters of Georgia. Now, that is something that Lindsey Graham flatly denied. When I asked him about that allegation, he contended that he was not even talking about the 2020 presidential race. He said he was talking about the mail-in voting system in Georgia and how the signature verification system worked and how that would work headed into a very, very critical Senate races, 2 Senate races in Georgia. In January 2021, there were the 2 Senate races, the runoffs there, that ultimately Democrats won and took back control of the majority. Lindsey Graham claimed that that was in focus entirely, and he pushed back on Raffensperger's claims.
What I'm very concerned about is that if you're going to continue to vote by mail, that we need to know what systems work and what don't. It's up to the people of Georgia. But I think I have every right in the world to reach out and say, how does it work? And that's what I did. It's really, I thought, a pretty good conversation. So,
I mean, he thinks it was an implicit threat by
you know,
what you were saying.
I categorically reject that. That wasn't my intent, and that wasn't the purpose of the conversation, to throw out ballots. We're talking about an election we ain't even had.
Oh, no. What happened? Wait, first of all, why is Lindsey Graham wearing a face diaper? That's number one. Is he a fucking coward or what, dude? Just, COVID is fake, brother. Why is this libtard cuck? Oh, it's from 2020. Oh, this is the old interview. I thought it was the new one. Oh, fuck, for a second. Yeah. My bad, boys. My bad. He's not a cuck. He's not a cuck. I mean, he is, but like for different reasons. You know what I mean?
Yet, which is the Senate races. That was my focus. Is how do you verify signatures? We've got a new Senate race coming up. Is there anything we can do to make it better?
So you were concerned about the Senate races more than what was happening?
Yeah, that's what the whole thing was about. I mean, they've got a process. You can't change the law retroactively. So there's just no way to do that. Whatever system was in place for the presidential election, we're going to live with. The whole conversation was about the Senate race.
Now, it's unclear why the special grand jury, a majority of these, special grand jury recommended charges, whether Graham's testimony
Actually, you know what?
was different in any way,
I shouldn't
whether
do
there was
that.
additional evidence about Senator Lindsey Graham's efforts. It voted 13 in the affirmative to try to pursue charges, 7 in the negative in the special grand jury. So the report does not detail any of that specifically. We do know that Lindsey Graham did ultimately testify before the grand jury in Georgia after he fought a subpoena, did not want to testify, did not think it was believed that it was appropriate to bring a sitting senator in to testify before this panel. He took it to court. They fought it. He ultimately lost that fight and did cooperate. And then afterwards, I did talk to him about the testimony before the grand jury. He said he cooperated fully, but he refused to provide any details about that testimony. I asked him also, did he expect to be charged? He said flatly he did not expect to be charged. So it's unclear how he's going to respond to this specific recommendation. At the moment, his office has not yet commented about this, but
Well, here it is now. Lindsey Jebediah Graham, seemingly very upset. Is this proof of homophobia in Georgia? Atlanta is literally the gay capital of the South, for those of you who don't know. So they are physically incapable of being homophobic. Okay? If you live in Atlanta, you're at least a little gay. That's number one. It's gayer than Miami. Can't tell if you're joking. Georgia is homophobic, though, just not Atlanta. Well, this is Fulton County. You know what I mean? It's pretty gay. It's gay as fuck. All right. Anyway, let's see what Lindsey Jebediah Graham had to say now.
This is troubling for the country. We can't criminalize senators doing their job when they have a constitutional requirement to fulfill. It would be irresponsible for me, in my opinion, as chairman of the committee, not to try to find out what happened. It would be irresponsible for me to tell the voters of South Carolina what I did without actually trying to find out what the right answer was. So we're opening up Pandora's box here. Fulton County is one of the most liberal jurisdictions in the country. I fear this will spread, that the next election, Democrats may be on the other side of this. So at the end of the day, nothing happened.
Lindsey, don't threaten me with a good time, man. Don't threaten me with a good-ass fucking time, homie. What is this? Why is it that whenever these guys are talking about this shit, they're like, well, I am afraid that Democrats could possibly also face legal scrutiny when we're in power. And it's like, dude, I love that. First and foremost, one thing to always consider is that Republicans do not get their go-ahead from the Democratic Party, especially considering the reality that Republicans have investigated pretty much every single fucking Democrat that has done anything that is remotely out of pocket, oftentimes, even if it's in line with the State Department interests. Hillary Clinton and Benghazi comes to mind, obviously. So, like, the notion the notion that, you know, oh man, you're surely going to get the Republicans to go out and prosecute criminally the Democrats in charge now that it's like a tit for tat kind of situation is silly, because this is something I've mentioned quite a bit. Republicans don't care about the norms or anything like that. They care about winning. They've always cared about winning. They don't give a shit. If they feel like this will give them an advantage, they'll do it. It's not like they first stumbled across criminally prosecuting their political opponents or whatever. Democrats, on the other hand, are never the serious threat that the Republican Party presents them as, and almost always just scaredy cats and institutionalists who, in this circumstance, in my opinion, in my honest opinion, have been pushed so fucking far that they seemingly had no other options but to genuinely do at least something, anything, to try and desperately return to normal process. The whole like Nancy Pelosi and Joe Brandon rhetoric about like we got to have a normal Republican Party comes to mind. Like it if anything, they're like kind of helping force the Republican Party and kind of helping them along the way get back to a regular Republican Party by force, by like cleaning house a little bit. They're like, we want a strong Republican Party. It's like, bitch, why do you want a strong Republican Party? I don't want a strong Republican Party. I want a weak one. You know? I want a weak one always. I don't want a strong one. When the fuck did we... Hello? When did we establish that we want a strong Republican Party? I'm sorry. I wasn't in on those fucking meetings. Okay? But this legal action basically is the same as that sentiment expressed. It's like, get back to fighting culture war issues back and forth. Okay? Get back to fighting culture war issues back and forth. Let's get back to the basics. Like, don't try to physically, don't try to physically, in the aftermath of an election, try to change the outcome. Because, like, that's a bridge too far. You're kind of fucking the game up for both of us when you can, as I've said before, you can do everything you want to in the lead up to an election. Everything. No holds barred. You can do whatever the fuck you want. You can make it so that you use like an 18th century law to be like, if you are, if you're black and your grandfather's name starts with the letter A, you are no longer allowed to vote in this district or whatever the fuck. Because like Republicans do this shit all the time. They do like, historically, conservatives have always weaponized antiquated laws or have basically created new ones specifically to disenfranchise voters. Voter disenfranchisement is a part of their play, right? That's what they do. And it's always seen as like a fine legal battle to engage in because it's done within the confines of our institutions. So when you do like the modern version of grandfather laws or Jim Crow laws or like a poll tax in an identical way that Ron DeSantis instituted in the state of Florida, which if you recall, he literally did that. He instituted a fucking poll tax in the state of Florida after a ballot measure allowed voters or allowed felons to be able to vote, okay? Felon voter restoration. It was a more popular agenda item in the state of Florida than Ron DeSantis by wide-ass fucking margins. And he turned around and the first thing he did was institute a poll tax. And he was like, oh yeah, if you're a felon, you still have to pay your court fees and whatnot in order to be able to vote in the state of Florida. And then on top of that, he pursued legally a bunch of people who thought that their rights to vote had been restored. And he arrested them specifically for, political showboating. All of that stuff is disgusting and gross, but it's still done within the confines of this system, right? It's still done in a civil way. Even if the actions are incredibly uncivil, it's still done within the confines of our legal and political structure. So in the eyes of the Democrats, that's fine. That's a battle that they can fight in the courts or whatever. But the moment that you're making phone calls and being like, hey, what the fuck are we doing here? Let's find 11,780 votes. Or let's put up a false slate of electors and like, we'll just dupe everybody. Like, we'll just go, oopsie. I guess the Electoral College accidentally had an entirely separate slate of false electors that came in and voted magically for Donald Trump. So I guess Georgia doesn't really matter if you voted democratically in the state of fucking Georgia for, in the state of fucking Georgia for Donald Trump or Joe Biden. It's just what the false electors decided. Like, these kinds of games that the Republican Party likes to play are fine if you do it within the confines of the legal system, but you have the capacity to go too far, and the Republican Party absolutely went too far, which is why they're now being punished.
What I did was consistent with my job as being a United States Senator, chairman of the Judiciary Committee, but it was just not me. 3 United States senators were opening up Pandora's box. I think the system in this country is getting off the rails, and
it's just like, it's kind of crazy to me because it screams of like a child, a spoiled child who's gotten everything he's ever wanted, and for the first time ever, his toys are being taken away. It's like, bro, you've gotten everything you've ever wanted out of politics always, okay? And then, and you took it too far, and you finally took it too far, so far that like you are facing legal scrutiny, and he's like, wow, it's really fucked up what's happening here. Here come the consequences of my actions. Don't like that.
we have to be careful not to use the legal system as a political tool.
It's like these motherfuckers have never not used the legal system as a political tool, okay? So that argument also is really fucking stupid. That argument in and of itself is also really dumb. Republicans have always used the legal tool, but hey, oh my God. The Ontario College of Psychologists ordered me in for my mugshot today. He did everything right, and they indicted him. He posted a black and white version as well. Very odd. But major Ontario W, it seems. Oh, here is Lindsey Graham.
This is troubling for the country. We can't criminalize senators doing their job when they have a constitutional requirement to fulfill. It would be irresponsible for me, in my opinion, as chairman of the committee, not to try to find out what happened. We're opening up Pandora's box here.
That was brand new reaction from Senator Lindsey Graham just moments ago after learning the grand jury in former President Trump's Georgia elections case wanted to charge him. That detail is one of many now public after the judge released the grand jury's final report. Senior correspondent Jonathan Seri is live for us in Atlanta. Jonathan, how is the Trump campaign responding to this?
Hi there, Sandra. Well, the Trump campaign responded shortly after this document was released, the special grand jury report that was released this morning. The campaign saying, in part, in a clearly biased, un-American act, a majority of the special grand jurors voted to indict dozens of innocent individuals, including former and sitting United States senators, simply for raising concerns about election integrity and exercising their First Amendment rights under the Constitution. This is the first time.
Once again, I have to mention something here. Perfectly fine in the lead up to an election. Big no-no after the election. That's the major point here. They tried. They did everything they could to get ahead of states implementing mail-in ballot measures, universal ballot registration, and the like. And ultimately, it yielded positive results for the Republicans across the board as well, because turns out making it easier to vote meant more voters for the Republican Party as well as the Democratic Party. But they couldn't do it. They couldn't stop the fucking momentum of bureaucracy. Okay? Ironically, there was a real avenue here, in my opinion, if Donald Trump wasn't so anti-mail-in ballot registration. Okay? Like, just like another major factor of the Georgia Senate race, the special elections that occurred after the general election went in the direction that it did was directly a consequence of Donald Trump routinely not shutting the fuck up about mail-in ballots. I said this at the time. One of the funniest things that was happening at the time, as I correctly called out, was that there will be a voter suppression that Republicans, with their rhetoric against mail-in ballots, universal registration, and early voting, will end up suppressing their own fucking votes. Just like this far into the process, constantly complaining about how the election was stolen from you is going to depress voter turnout. If you keep saying your vote doesn't matter, your vote doesn't matter, your vote doesn't matter over and over and over again, a lot of people in your base of support who believe you are going to turn around and go, maybe my vote doesn't matter. Why the fuck should I vote? Why should I vote then? You don't want to lose out on your most aggro supporters not voting. You know what I mean? The new Second Thought video talks about you as a good source about learning from politics. Hell yeah. Thank you, Second Thought. Shouts out to Second Thought.
Time the public has been able to see the special grand jury report that was completed back in December. It shows the panel recommended indictments against 39 individuals. That's more than twice the 19 who actually ended up being indicted by a regular grand jury in August. Prominent individuals recommended but not indicted include former Republican Georgia Senators Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue, South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham, who you heard from at the beginning of the show, or of this segment, Georgia Attorney Lynn Wood, former Trump National Security Advisor Michael Flynn, and former Trump advisor Boris Epshteyn, as well as election lawyer.
CEO of Lamonting says, hello, fellow Democrats. Listen, brother, we're all Democratic Party loyalists on this beautiful day. While the Trump train keeps fucking choo-chooing in the direction of prison, I will be the biggest libtard you've ever seen, okay? Doesn't matter if you're an electronic Roberto player, watcher, whatever the fuck, supporter. We love the DNC on moments like this, okay? We do. Don't we love it, folks? Don't we love it? We love the DNC, folks. They're doing the best. They're doing their very best.
Cleta Mitchell. Again, Sandra, none of these individuals that I named were actually indicted, but this special grand jury was certainly recommending it.
I've been using your rethuglican term and rhetoric with my conservative dad, and even he thinks it's hilarious. Yeah, lock them up. These rethuglicans, lock them up.
And it shows the wide scope
law
of this
and order
initial investigation. Back to you.
Jonathan Seri on that for us. Jonathan, thank you.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox.
New tonight, following Team Trump's orders, CNN's K-File uncovering one of the 16 fake Trump electors who is now facing charges in Michigan, talking about, in her own words, on a radio show, about how she was a fake elector. And she says she worked with lawyers for the Trump campaign. In fact, she laid out the goals for the alleged plot, a plot that is at the heart of cases brought by special counsel Jack Smith and the Fulton County DA Fani Willis as well. Here is the former Michigan GOP chair, Meshawn Maddock, in December 2020.
I, along with the other 15 electors, were guided by legal minds, attorneys.
One of the funniest parts about the false elector shit, the false elector schemes that is like being currently criminally prosecuted, is that we looked into it, right? And in some states, they just like simply don't have a law for it, right? But it's one of those situations where like it's very clearly not something you are allowed to do. So it's literally a situation where it's like, how do I describe it? Like even if there isn't an actual direct law that states you can't do it, it's well established and understood that you can't actually do it. Like, you can't do this kind of interference, even if the law in and of itself has never been perfectly codified. It's within the common law, fraud everywhere. It's a document of legal significance with intent to defraud. It's like masturbating on an airplane. Well, masturbating on an airplane is not illegal. Okay? I don't know why these guys thought that they could. Like, I don't know. It's a very odd situation because, well, first of all, masturbating on an airplane is a victimless crime, and it's not a crime anyway. Okay? It's more like smoking on an airplane. Well, I guess smoking on an airplane does have established law. There's no rule that says a dog can't play in the NBA. Tell that to Designer. I think Designer was cranking it out in public though, instead of like doing it in the bathroom or something. You know what I mean? Yeah, you can't do it in public. If you're cranking it, you got to keep it to the bathroom, the airplane bathroom. Anyway, listen. The point is not about whether or not I've masturbated on an airplane bathroom, okay? That's not, please stop focusing on that aspect. That is not important to the story. What's important to the story is everybody understands you can't fucking literally go above and beyond. You can maybe try and manipulate, I guess. No, even then, you can't, I don't think you can try and manipulate electors that are already existing to go and vote your way. They have to do it on their own volition. Okay? Which people have in the past. And when they have done that in the past, all of those states have individually created laws against it, some of which even includes criminal punishments. There are states where, like, false electors have existed. When that happens, they usually implement a new law. But, however, ultimately, if there's a false elector, it's pretty simple. You just go, oh, you don't want to fucking vote for who actually won? Okay, well, we're replacing you. Right? We're replacing you. It's never been, I guess with one exception, it's never really been like a serious threat that changed the results of an election. And knowing that, these sneaky motherfuckers thought that they could do that. You can say them superdelegates. That's entirely separate. The DNC has fought in courts to maintain that the Democratic primaries conducted by the Democratic National Convention, the Democratic Party, are private affairs. They are technically intra-party affairs, which means that they could, at the end of it, say, no, this is our candidate. And they've won in a court of law. Whereas, yeah, that's why they have superdelegates and blah, 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 all the shit in the DNC. That's different than the general election where two parties are going against one another. Okay, two parties are going against one another and they're running for office. And the expectation is that your vote is supposed to ensure that you win the Electoral College and the electors in the Electoral College vote in your direction. It's more symbolic than anything else. Oh no, bitching about the superdelegates again? No, I'm actually saying that the Democratic Party legally can have superdelegates and even change the result of a primary if they see fit. Something that they've actually maintained in a court of law, and they are a private institution, and how that is actually different. I admit I was never your biggest fan, just politics, but I also admit I have healthy respect for you all the same. You've done really well and are good at what you do, bro. So fair play, man. Power dab. Thank you, Powerhouse G. So how do I describe it on Twitch terms is what I've been thinking of. And it's kind of like this, okay? The Republican Party in this situation is kind of like hot tub streamers, right? There are hot tub streamers that stay within the boundaries that Twitch has designed. Okay? They stay within the boundaries that Twitch has designed with the terms of service in mind. And then there are certain hot tub streamers who push it forward, who push it always forward. They're like constantly arriving at the boundary of what the terms of service is, and like rule breaking as a profession. And we all know that they're doing that. So at the end of the day, you have to do something about it. You know what I mean? Twitch is, of course, going to do something about it. And that's kind of what the Republican Party is doing here, where they're like, well, technically, we thought that it was legally allowed to be able to just completely overturn the results of an election by using this incredibly undemocratic process, right? It's one of those situations where, like, even if there isn't directly a law, there are certain things that you can't do because that would be fucking insane. Now, some might say, sorry, that doesn't matter, because if it's not codified as a law, then you can't prosecute someone criminally, except you can't defraud the American population by trying to create a false slate of electors. So not only did they engage in boundary breaking by taking advantage of a lack of legal precedent, let's say, they did it in a way that was actually criminal. Okay? And now I got to pee again.
For our president, some very incredible constitutional attorneys. I've never in my whole life appreciated legal minds and attorneys before, I can tell you that. So what we did, along with 7 other states, really send in dueling electors. And that will be there before, a federal constitutional attorney, and it'll be before Mike Pence and Congress to make that decision.
KFIL's Andrew Kaczynski is out front. So, Andrew, dueling electors, use the word. Now, obviously, she's, blaming it on the attorneys or, saying, oh, I did it all at their direction. But I mean, laying out the plot, this is in December 2020 when she's not even trying to cover it up in some senses. She said a lot more than that. What was so significant about all of this?
Well, it's significant because it really shows that she knew exactly what she was doing when she put her name on that fake document. I mean, you heard it in the clip right there. She says, they're going to be submitting their names to Mike Pence so he can pick them as the legitimate.
He can decide what to do about it, right?
Yeah. He can say they're the legitimate electors on January 6th, despite the fact that Donald Trump lost the state of Michigan. And these fake electors even tried to enter the state capitol in December of 2020, but they were turned away. And what's interesting about her comments here is it tracks with those Trump campaign memos about how they were going to facilitate this plot. Take a listen to a bit more of her comments.
It's not unprecedented either. I don't have the exact dates in front of me, but when I was at the Stop the Steal event yesterday, I think the last time was in 1960. The state of Hawaii sent in a dueling slate, but I think 8 different times over the course of our history. And, once again, trust our founding fathers. They had a way and a plan in case things like this went wrong.
And what's interesting here is she cites this 1960 example of Hawaii, and there were dueling slates of electors there, but that's where the similarities end. Richard Nixon originally won the state of Hawaii by 150 votes, but that was reversed on a recount. Donald Trump lost the state of Hawaii or the state of Michigan by 150,000 votes.
Right. 150 versus 150,000. We all understand the magnitude there. All right. So, but what's interesting in all these sound bites that you've just played is she's very clear. All these amazing constitutional lawyers and Trump's lawyers and all these people, and they were involved and they told us to do this. That's what she said in December of 2020. But 6 weeks ago, you found her talking again, and it sounds very different.
In previous conversations, you said it was attorneys that asked you to do this, and you're following the advice of attorneys. Tell me who asked you to do this, and because this is a big surprise for a lot of folks. Go ahead.
So here's the thing. If she chose to do this on her own volition, unless the state of Michigan has already openly shown that there is a law that where she could be criminally punished for this, which I believe there might be. If she had done this on her own volition, it's different. Let me see. Let's take a look at the state of Michigan, actually. I don't even know if the state of Michigan, has false... oh, shit. What the fuck? Very fresh. Try and type on this fucking laptop. Faithless elector law. Duluth, Michigan. State faithless electors laws only for Connecticut. I know when I see it as a legal precedent in this country, you can prosecute anything. Look at my logs. Supposedly there are alternate vote laws that very loosely allow some type of backup votes. You're mixing up faithless electors and fake electors. They're not the same thing. Yes, I'm going to get to that in a second. The reason why I think it's important, though, to understand is that for those of you who don't know, we'll go over this again. Faithless electors are electors who do not vote for the candidates of the U.S. president and vice president for whom the elector had pledged to vote, and instead votes for another person for one of the or both offices and abstains from voting. Okay? Now, it's a really fucking stupid concept, specifically designed by our founding fathers with the express purpose of trying to make sure that there wasn't really any kind of democracy. Okay? Like, that was the point. Yeah, faithless electors are r/atheism electors. Okay? Which you should never let them vote. Anyway. Hassan on Windows 11 lol. This is March's laptop I'm using. Anyway. Ultra debate perverts. Sure. Electors are typically chosen and nominated by a political party, party's presidential nominee, and are usually party members with a reputation for high loyalty to the party and its chosen candidate. Thus, a faithless elector runs the risk of a party censure and political retaliation from the party, as well as potential legal penalties in some cases, in some states. So, as of 2020, 33 states and the District of Columbia have laws that require electors to vote for the candidates for whom they pledge to vote. Though in half of these jurisdictions, there is no enforcement mechanism. So, in 33 states and D.C., you have to do it. You're compelled to do it, even if there is no legal enforcement mechanism. But again, that is all faithless electors, which means someone on their own volition inside of the Electoral College in the slate of electors decided on their own volition not to fucking vote for the person that their state voted for. Okay? In 14 states, votes contrary to the pledge are voided and respective electors are replaced. And in 2 of these states, they may also be fined. 3 other states impose a penalty on faithless electors, but still count their votes as cast. Because America, unfortunately, does not have a federally mandated election process, which is fucking very stupid. But what are you going to do? Colorado was the first state to void an elector's faithless vote, which occurred in the 2016 election. Minnesota also invoked this law for the first time in 2016 when an elector pledged to Hillary Clinton attempted to vote for Bernie Sanders instead. Until 2008, Minnesota's electors cast secret ballots, and they changed it. Okay? So the Trump administration tried to take advantage of the fact that they saw this as a weakness, which it is a weakness, for the record, in our elections process. They tried to use this as an exploit. Here, I'll use a gaming term. They tried glitch hacking, but because they couldn't just get a bunch of people to literally vote for Donald Trump that were chosen as the slate of electors, okay, on their own volition, they decided to urge them to do so by telling them, no, it's okay. Legally, you are allowed to do this. When they're not. Exploiting is a gamer term already, and you call yourself a real gamer, shaking my head. I know. Like, exploit. They tried to use an exploit. Turns out they've already patched in a bunch of shit in many different states. And on top of that, that exploit is not allowed. So now your speed run is not even going to have an asterisk next to it, but you're getting punished. Okay, you're getting a fucking VAC ban. You're getting a VAC ban because you tried to get a bunch of people to cheese as hard as you possibly could. Okay?
Go ahead.
A lot of it is still vague to me, and I don't have any email.
Yeah, there was already a slate of electors since Biden won the state, but they sent new people as a new slate of electors.
Communications with any of these people, but Laura Cox was our state party chair at the time. Somebody from her staff contacted all of us, asked us to be at the Michigan Republican Party office at 2 p.m. I remember the time. I think it was December 18th, and so we showed up.
I mean, she says it's vague. But before, she had said, we were guided by attorneys for our president, incredible constitutional attorneys. I've never in my whole life appreciated legal minds and attorneys before. I mean,
you're completely wrong. When we vote, we do not vote for president. We vote for electors to the Electoral College. Trump did not go around to change electors' minds. He tried to seat entirely different people in the Electoral College who were not voted for. Wait, first of all, dude, I know technically what you're saying is correct, but it doesn't matter. In the eyes of the American population, if you were to tell them, actually, you're fucking voting for electors to the Electoral College, they would go, what the fuck are you talking about? No, I'm voting for the president. So it's a semantics point that is important in the legal process, which is why I described the concept of faithless electors and why that's different. But that was the exploit that Trump tried to take advantage of, because there was no legal precedent, or the legal precedent that they had no enforcement mechanism. So they thought they could just completely tap in to the Electoral College part of the fucking voting structure, which is genuinely a weakness in the American voters process. If magically the slate of electors that were appointed in that situation on their own volition all got together and were like, we think Donald Trump is the true president, okay? And then in that situation, they would still have to find a way to prosecute these people. There is no fucking shot. It would be I guess it would be a constitutional crisis. Because of what I just mentioned, the average person does not think that they're voting for an elector that will cast a vote. The average person thinks they're voting for the president. Okay? It's important to explain it accurately here to understand what the fake elector plot is. I get that that's not how people think when they're voting in elections. I know, but people not thinking that that's who they're voting for in elections is a fundamental part of this. Because if everybody was like, oh, well, I guess I'm just voting for an elector, you can just literally have a constitutional crisis due to, let's say, in the off chance that all of these fucking electors were literally like, I just lied. I'm actually secretly a Trump supporter, and I refuse to vote for Joe Brandon. I'm voting for Donald Trump. That still wouldn't matter. No, it wouldn't. That's legally what the Electoral College allows. The odds you could actually coordinate are incredibly low, but it's not a constitutional crisis if it actually happened. No, it would still, it would 100% become a problem, because not a single person in public would be fine with that. Like, not a single human being would be like, oh, that's fine. Think about it this way. The Supreme Court plays a fundamental role in American politics, okay? And they oftentimes make decisions that completely go against what the public wants, okay? And there's not really an enforcement mechanism there. There's not something we can do there. And it's still deeply and undesirably frustrating. This would go above and beyond. This would be even worse than that. Technically legal, so no constitutional crisis in this situation is silly. Because, you know what else is technically legal? Donald Trump becoming president from prison and then pardoning himself for all of his federal crimes, for example. If you don't think that that would constitute a constitutional crisis, if it were to happen, I don't know what to tell you. It's technically legal, and yet it would absolutely be a constitutional crisis. Because technically, there's nothing in the books for something as insane. Does that make sense? In 2000, Bush's campaign thought he might win the popular vote and lose the Electoral College. If that had happened, they were prepared to argue that the electors should choose him over Gore. Illustrates how procedural perverts get owned by the right constantly. Yeah, procedural pervertry and institutional defense brigades from the Democratic Party often get owned by people who know what the rules are, what the boundaries are, and regularly choose to cross them. Because as I've said time and time again, if you truly care about the institutions, you still have to defeat the right, because they are fucking terrorists, okay? They do not give a fuck about institutions. They just care about power because they understand that's how politics works, and they regularly will break boundaries and break new ground by pointing to old-ass antiquated laws or reinterpreting what those laws mean or coming up with fake legal interpretations like being a strict textualist, okay? Which is just simply a way to promote your reactionary agenda, but like slap on some kind of intellectual patina onto it, okay, to make it seem like it's actually legally permissible. We're actually just analyzing the actual intent that the founders had when they wrote this at the time and place. It's not, and it hasn't changed, and we need to value what they thought about back then. It's like fucking bullshit. It's complete bullshit, and they've done it over and over again. Again, fine, but if you want to accurately describe what Trump and co-conspirators are being brought up on charges for, you have to explain how electors in the Electoral College works, which I did, which is why I brought up the difference between faithless electors and what Trump was doing, which was not even trying to, I guess, create a scenario where there are people who just like are chosen to be the Electoral College electors that on their own volition decided to not vote for Donald Trump, or not vote for Joe Biden, but instead put a new fucking slate of false electors, which is the actual like genuine criminal aspect here. You said trying to sway electors to be faithless was illegal, and you are wrong about that. I think if you are trying to legitimately sway electors to be faithless, even then, we're breaking new ground. And I think that would absolutely be something that would be that would have to be tried. Do you not understand what I mean by this? Because then you are engaging in a conspiracy to change the outcome of a democratic election from the way that people are seeing it, from the way that people assume the election is supposed to happen. Why did all the debate perverts wake up? Holy shit! I don't think it's unimportant to address this. I think this is important. Bro's vacationing every week. Skull emoji, skull emoji. It's kind of funny that you're saying that because I'm currently like streaming. This is if you understand my job is to stream and serve you the top of the hour ad breaks. I'm literally live right now. What do you mean I'm vacationing every week? Like I'm currently working. Anyway, here's my job. Here's another aspect of my job. The 3-minute ad break. At the top of the hour, there is a 3-minute ad break. If you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe, which you can do for $5 or free with a Twitch Prime. By connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, where you get 1 free Prime subscription a month. Use it on your favorite broadcaster. Psychedelic Gazelle, thank you for the 20 Tier 1 gift to subs, allowing 20 people to be faithless electors. Here's the 3-minute ad break now. Faithless electors stealing the election would absolutely result in a civil war. It wouldn't matter what's technically legal. The Joint Chiefs of Staff would probably back the real winner, and that's all that would matter. Like, we're fantasizing about silly shit. And even in that situation, I think that there would have to be some kind of criminal punishment or some kind of legal issue that is brought up because you just can't fucking do that. Does that make sense? It would be the nuttiest thing that has ever happened in the history of the United States of America. One where plenty of constitutional crises have occurred, including the literal civil war. All right, let's keep going.
You know, as if this is very clear and guided by them. What is the change here?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting to see when people you cover suddenly develop amnesia for things they talked about so much before. Now, we did reach out to her. We asked about this. We didn't get a response. She did tweet at us eventually calling us fake news, but she didn't comment on any of her recent amnesia.
Right, and any of the substance of what you report.
Now to Biden's traveling to the country formerly known as India. which is not Pakistan, which claims that they will take on the name of India once India changes its name. Here he is for G20 focused on economy, climate change. Putin and Xi skip the summit.
To India, rather, where most of the leaders of the world's largest economies are at this year's G20 meeting in New Delhi. President Biden, who arrived a short time ago, plans to focus on worldwide economic growth and rising food and energy prices that are blamed on Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And thanks to the wonders of satellite technology, we go now to Ed O'Keefe, who is at the summit live for us this morning in New Delhi. Ed, good morning.
Tony, good to see you. Good morning. The president now here in India for that G20 summit. He tested negative for COVID-19 yesterday before leaving Washington. Of course, the First Lady had tested positive earlier in the week. This G20 summit so far is just about as much about who's not here. China's Xi Jinping and Russia's Vladimir Putin both planning to skip the summit. Putin, of course, is getting ready for meetings with North Korea's Kim Jong-un about a possible arms deal between North Korea and Russia for its ongoing war in Ukraine. Also not here will be Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky. Ukraine isn't a member of the G20, but they were invited to address the summit last year virtually. India has not extended such an invitation because it remains officially neutral on issues regarding the war in Ukraine. Remember, the G20 is a body focused mostly on economic issues, so there will be less conversation about war and peace and much more about dollars and cents, issues like global development, climate change, and infrastructure. The president is set to meet with the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi tonight, and this whole trip is designed to put more attention on Asia amid concerns about the growing dominance of China. That's also why the president is set to visit Vietnam on Sunday. Nate?
All right, the worldwide Ed O'Keefe in India. Thank you.
Oh, I forgot to cover
news
this.
Right now, a new sighting in the manhunt for a killer who broke out of an eastern Pennsylvania prison more than a week ago. Police there have now zeroed in on a location. People are sheltering in place right now. CNN's Brian Todd joins us. So what's going on where you are, Brian?
Anderson, we can tell you just a short time ago, the Pennsylvania State Police confirmed to CNN that there has been another sighting of this fugitive, Danilo Cavalcante, this evening. The police would not say when or where the sighting occurred. Here's what we can also tell you. According to a spokesperson for the facility known as Longwood Gardens, this is an area right behind me.
Oh, yeah. Before we continue on with the Pennsylvania convict, before I forget, we got to do this, obviously. The obligatory so sorry mention. This is the only news outlet that I trust. Their coverage is profound. Their coverage is always bold. It's brave. It's beautiful. That's right. Brandon's in India. So obviously we have to watch So Sorry.
Sorry.
वेलकम करे हिंदुस्तान मेरा हो आया बाइडन आया आया सुनक आया आया मैक्रो आया आया ट्रूडो हम पे ये दुनिया की नजरें झंडा है ऊंचा हमारा देखो ये भारत का जलवा G20 करता इशारा हो आया दिल्ली सजाया आया दिल में समाया आया बाइडन आया आया सुनक हो मेरा ख्याल तो ये है चमके ये नाम.
What are they saying? What is Modi saying? He's saying welcome to Hindustan. And he welcomes Modi. Or, I mean, not Modi, sorry. Modi is welcoming with open arms Joe Brandon, Macron, and maybe even perhaps Trudeau. The subs are not on for this yet. This is too new. So, you look exactly like the guy on the left. Yeah, it's me. It's a parody of a famous Bollywood song. Yeah.
पलकों पे तुमको बिठा के स्वागत करेंगे तुम्हारा हो आया बाइडन आया सुनक आया मैक्रो आया Trudeau friends.
He always is Trudeau like, why is he singling out Trudeau? That part I don't really understand. He's saying aya to everybody, but then Trudeau, he goes like, is Trudeau not welcomed? Is that what that means? Like, I don't know. Are you done? You came in and you're like, that's enough for me. Marat came in, watched me watch this, and was like, nope, that's enough for me, I think. We're good.
हमारे plenty. Welcome to all in G20.
That's a banger. This one didn't have a lot of geopolitical conflict or anything. Like, it just kind of, it didn't really show us too much, except for, Modi welcoming everybody into the G20 summit in India. I thought there would have been a shot at like Xi or Pooty Poo a little bit. Maybe not Pooty Poo, but like Xi, I thought. He's in Mexico with that background light changed. Yeah. Aya means has come, and no, that's just the song on the Trudeau bit. Oh, okay. TikTok about the prisoner, where the prisoner is hiding. So this guy escaped.
Here, according to this person, they have said that the police are searching an area of Longwood Gardens, an area of interest. They have all.
Okay, TikTok about where the prisoner is hiding from our favorite Pearl Mania, who's gonna yell at us.
Well, they spotted him in Longwood Gardens. That's great. Longwood fucking Gardens. For those of you who don't know, 6 days ago, all right, on day 90 of me being a non-smoker, on day fucking 90, a 5-foot-tall Brazilian murderer escaped a Pennsylvania prison, like kind of near my house. And they've been in a massive manhunt for him. They've been looking for him in the entire area. A cop spotted him at one point. They keep spotting him on trail cameras, and every time they see him, he has more stuff. So he's been robbing people's homes. He has killed. This guy, his name is Danilo Cavalcante, okay? This guy has killed on 2 separate continents. He killed somebody in Brazil, and then he came to America, and he murdered his ex-girlfriend in front of her children.
Seems like he's quite the industrious fellow.
38 times.
Also, finding out that this is also another Michael from Pennsylvania, because he is also from Pennsylvania, has been a shock to me. I will admit, now I am a firm believer that everyone from Pennsylvania just looks like that. Okay, this is Ginger Mike from PA. Straight up.
It's like, this dude is a fucking psycho. He escaped from a prison 6 fucking days ago, and has just been on a fun little excursion in the woods around Longwood Gardens. Last night, they actually spotted him on a trail cam in Longwood Gardens. They haven't caught him.
Oh, man, you're making these TikToks like, meanwhile, it's not like the cops are actually going to do their fucking jobs and catch this dude. He's going to come to your fucking house next, dude. Watch out.
Nope, they haven't caught him. Because our local Keystone cops are doing Keystone cop stuff. I have no idea why. Now, I mean, historically, this has been a difficult area to catch people, which is why it was an underground railroad stop, like before the Civil War. Like, slaves fleeing from the South would come through this area, and it was called the Longwood, okay? And they would hide here, and Quakers would help them and get them to move even more north so they could get away from, like, fugitive slave catchers, okay? He is not being helped by Quakers, though. He's just walking around in the fucking woods. And now he's in Longwood Gardens. He's inside the fucking gardens where I wanted to fucking go yesterday. I wanted to take my wife to Longwood Gardens. It was our fucking wedding anniversary. I wanted to walk around gardens and look at pretty flowers and then look at her and be like, I fucking love you. And she's like, I fucking love you. But I can't because there's a 5-foot...
I feel like this is just how people from Pennsylvania operate. Like, I assume that everyone in Pennsylvania is always like this. You know what I mean? Like, he's not even doing a bit. It's just like he's just mad all the time.
Tall Brazilian man.
It literally tracks with my experience in Philadelphia. I'm just going to be honest. Like, people from Philadelphia especially behave like this all the time.
Man who loves to kill, hiding in a fucking garden that over 1 million people visit a year. International tourists from around the world come to look at this fucking garden, and they're worried that this guy, who's so fucking crafty, might climb into a
He's just mad that he can't eat horse manure. You know, I'm assuming the Eagles are gonna fucking play tomorrow or Monday. He's like, you better open the fucking Longwood Gardens so I can engage in my horse manure eating activities. Go Birds.
tour bus and get away into the night. But no, instead he's just walking around fucking the middle of nowhere. He's right near Route 1 somewhere, and now I can't go look at fucking flowers. Y'all better find this guy so I can fucking relax.
This is a PA suburb country. I was just at Longwood Gardens on Sunday. The Hogs are so excited. They haven't had entertainment in a long time. It's been more than a week. Honestly, he should just win. Lol, I made a joke about the cops around the gardens looking like slave catchers. So this guy did 2 murders, okay? He's 2 for 2. 1 in Brazil and 1 in America. And then how did he escape? Like he like moonwalked out of prison or some shit. Like I heard, I've been on vacation, okay? So I haven't really seen what the fuck's going on. But like, what's happening in Pennsylvania prisons? Like, you could just like walk out. Is that what's happening? He crab walked up the wall. He climbed up the wall. Do we have video of this? Because I need to see it. I need to see not the new sightings, but like actually a descriptor of how this guy got out.
New here at 5, surveillance video captures the moment a convicted murderer escapes through the roof of a Pennsylvania prison's exercise yard. There you see Danilo Cavalcante placing his hands and feet on the walls, then shimmy right on up.
There ain't no fucking way, dog. Are you serious? There ain't no fucking way. Same thing happened in Germany a few days ago. You guys want to know something fucking cool and fun? In Germany, it is not illegal, technically, to try and escape prison. The only thing they will add, if you do end up escaping prison in Germany, the only thing they'll add onto your charges is like the clothes that you stole from the prison. Because they believe that yearning for freedom is a human right. So they actually don't add additional charges if you successfully escape prison, unless you are wearing the state's clothes on your back. So technically, if you escape prison naked, well, I guess that would be indecent exposure at a certain point. But like, if you escape prison naked, it's technically not illegal. He got on the roof and jumped over a barbed wire fence.
CNN reports it's the same way another inmate briefly broke out of the Chester County Prison in May. According to the warden, Cavalcante then pushed through razor wire.
Dog, how do they... This is the second time? It's the second time someone has used this trick? Why didn't they fucking do something? Hello? Why didn't they fix it? Bro, what is happening, dude? They should have patched it. Bro, when you see a fucking exploit that big, you patch it, okay? Why are these guys sleeping on the fucking job?
Ran across a roof and scaled a fence to escape. Authorities have been searching for the 34-year-old for a week now. Last spotted Tuesday entering the woods on the east of the side of the growing search area.
That's insane to me. Apparently, people are just climbing fucking walls in prisons and shit.
Also moved guests out of the area, and at one point tonight, they did tell employees to shelter in place, but they are searching an area of interest in Longwood Gardens. That's just behind me in this area. You can see the law enforcement vehicles here behind me, Anderson. That's what we can tell you tonight. Another sighting, and they are searching an area right around here.
Do you have any sense of how large an area that may be? And you probably don't, because I know this is all happening right now.
Well, it's a large area. What they told us earlier was that the entire perimeter was about an 8 to 10 square mile area. But I can tell you, Anderson, in the last couple of hours, that perimeter has changed many, many times. There have been law enforcement vehicles, dozens upon dozens of them, moving all around us at high speed sometimes with lights flashing, and they have pushed us from one point to another. This perimeter keeps changing. You can see that's one part of it right there. This perimeter keeps changing tonight. My colleague Aaron Cooper observed law enforcement personnel with tactical vests on, camouflage gear, and long guns. That's the first glimpse we've had of those types of personnel. All of this activity coming after a sighting at about noon today, telling us that this fugitive may be moving around in a fairly tight area. Tonight, another reported sighting as the manhunt for convicted murderer Danilo Cavalcante enters its second week.
We had a possible sighting of Cavalcante by a person in the vicinity of Longwood Gardens.
This sighting, officials say, was not far from where he was seen on a trail camera Monday night. A law enforcement official tells CNN someone walked up to police and reported seeing Cavalcante around noon today. Police searched the area inside their perimeter of 8 to 10 square miles, asked why they couldn't squeeze in the area to grab him.
It's not just a perfect open piece of land that you can just march through. You've got businesses, residences, highways, hills, valleys, wooded areas that can't be pushed through.
Cavalcante has been on the run since August 31st, the week after he was sentenced to life in prison for murdering his girlfriend. The victim's family in fear for their lives.
They do have protection, and they are terrified. They haven't left their home. They're barricaded inside and very concerned about their safety. We do have police detail around them 24 hours a day, but I know they're very, very worried. This is an outrage. This should have never happened. You know that I was the prosecutor who was assigned to this case, and I helped convict this man, and he was sentenced to life without parole. We're all upset.
This stunning surveillance video shows the escape, the 34-year-old crab walking up the side of a wall in an outdoor exercise area of the prison. Investigators say he pushed through razor wire, ran across a roof, scaled another fence, and got through more razor wire. Now on the run, he's been seen several times in the surrounding area, and police have found his footprints.
Saturday evening, we heard some very strange things in the woods, saw some things on our cameras.
Bro, we're fucked. Like, we're just fucked. Like, it's nuts, dude. With this law enforcement, with this kind of law enforcement, bro, they haven't done a job in like years, okay? They haven't done a single job. I don't mean like any job. I mean literally, I don't mean just like policing. They just don't do work. So good luck.
And we did alert police.
Nina and Charlie Lyman live less than 2 miles from the prison on a 65-acre farm. They believe Cavalcante may have been on their property, which police have searched twice.
We do have several nooks and crannies. We have 3 barns, haylofts, horse trailers. There are 3 houses on the property. So we're taking precautions.
Cavalcante has also been recorded at least twice on surveillance video. The more days that go by without them catching him, does he get more dangerous?
Well, he does. He gets more dangerous because he gets more desperate, and he's probably looking to obtain a weapon. He's going to need to get water and food and more clothes, and he's looking for a vehicle. And all of those things potentially put him in contact with the public, with citizens in their homes, cars, outside.
What did he do? He murdered once in Brazil and once in America. He murdered his like ex-girlfriend in front of his children, apparently.
And that's where the real danger comes in.
We've been pressing law enforcement officials every step of the way on whether Danilo Cavalcante has obtained a weapon or not. The latest word we got a short time ago is so far they do not have any indication that he has obtained a weapon. Now, as for whether he has left any traces of himself behind anywhere like food, clothing, or anything else like that, Lieutenant Colonel George Bivens of the Pennsylvania State Police told me so far they have found no physical traces of this man, but things are very fluid tonight.
Is it fair to say that this has taken too long? Are there certain steps that you're concerned are not being taken?
Brother, let's keep it $150. Cops are so fucking bad at their jobs in general. Good luck. The people of Pennsylvania are on their own, pretty much. The most overpaid worst at their jobs group of motherfuckers on the planet.
Well, Jake, I certainly did predict that it would have found him sooner than this, but that doesn't mean that the police are doing a bad job. There's a certain amount of luck that is involved in the equation.
What?
Sometimes things just don't fall your way. I have like the elements of heat that affect the camera. And now we learned, I think, on your network this morning that Cavalcante has some survivalist skills in living amongst the trees and the brush. So there's a bit of an advantage there. What they need to do now is be secure in the fact that they have him within the perimeter based on these sightings and credible sightings at that, because there's been a lot more reporting of sightings than these 8 or 10. And they have to start tightening that perimeter and then putting the pressure on, meaning, keep the action up. When he hears the helicopters above, he hears dogs barking. We want to deprive him of sleep, of food, of water, of any kind of comfort. And we want to wear him down to the point that he wants to give up. So we have to keep the pressure on. And we also want to do it quickly, hoping he doesn't get any more resources, such as money, or most likely we don't want him to have a weapon.
Bryce, the escaped killer in Pennsylvania, was able to break out even after more razor wire had been added in the same area where a different inmate had briefly escaped just a few months ago. And in this case, the tower guard failed to see him crab walk the wall. And in D.C., the suspected killer there was able to get away because he was not handcuffed to a hospital gurney because they were swapping out the cuffs. Are these cases of negligence by law enforcement?
Right. We have the most expensive prison industrial complex on the planet. One of the only countries on the planet where prisons are fucking for profit. We have the absolute most expensive paramilitary police force. Okay. That one is like across the board, both in totality and per capita. And like, motherfuckers are still escaping. This is the one area where like the draconian measures that are implemented are supposed to work. This ain't no Norwegian prison, dog, where the doors are unlocked and you can just like walk out. It's America, goddammit. How the fuck? How in the ever-loving fuck is this something you could do? It's like losing out on this situation is like if America went band for band on an obesity competition and like lost to another country. Okay? There's a couple things that we're number one at. Prisons, policing, and obesity. Like if we went band for band with like fucking France and lost in the heart disease competition, I'd be like, what the fuck's going on? Pick up the fucking slack. We're number one, bitch. What are you doing? We got the biggest titties and we got the most heart disease. And you're out here fucking telling me that those goddamn Frenchmen are defeating us? Fuck that shit.
Or is this just what happens every now and then because, criminal's gonna criminal?
Yeah, I don't want to speak on those cases specifically because I'm not involved in, any sort of investigation or research in those areas. But this is what happens. We see this. It's not frequent, but when escapes do occur, it's often because there's either some sort of security lapse, some protocol wasn't followed, something happens that it creates the opportunity for someone to escape. So it's not completely uncommon. I don't want to blame it on any particular individual in either of those agencies, just because I'm not familiar with the details of their investigations yet. But this is not an uncommon thing in general.
Michael, there have been several sightings of Cavalcante over several days in and around Longwood Gardens. Why might he consider Longwood Gardens a safe place? Does he not believe that law enforcement knows he's been spotted there? Or is there just a lot of cover? Or is it just where he ended up?
It's probably a combination of all three. He ended up there, and as we said, he might be very comfortable within the trees and the brush, thinking he could find cover physically from law enforcement. And there's no indication that he has access to the media. So he doesn't hear on CNN that the police may believe they have him contained within a perimeter. So he may believe now that he's staying safe because he's getting away with it for so long. And the more comfortable he gets, the more likely he is to make a mistake that will lead to his arrest.
Bryce, the authorities have shut down 2 school districts in Pennsylvania. Some of the schools are closed for a third day. We're not seeing the same response in D.C.
America, we got to add a new thing. Mass shooting day is like the new snow day. And now we got criminal escape prison in a fucking laughable way day. That's wild.
Is it right for schools and school districts to close? I mean, my immediate response, and maybe I'm naive about this, is it's not as though Cavalcante has a weapon. It's not as though he has superhuman powers. Is there a need to shut down school districts?
Yeah, I mean, you see the response vary across jurisdictions. I don't know if there's no evidence to say one way or the other is best practice per se, but I know that they're taking every precaution necessary. I can say, though, from the research that we've done, that in general, it is rare that people use violence once they've escaped from custody. They're too busy, looking for food, looking for shelter, looking for places to hide, and avoiding recapture to really engage in too much crime outside. Not to say it never happens, but it is a rare event when it does occur.
And Michael, my general reaction when I hear about somebody who is on the run is I don't feel like, I mean, people obviously should lock their doors anyway, but I don't feel particularly vulnerable or think that anybody else should be feel particularly vulnerable. These people want to avoid detection and get the hell out of there in general. These aren't necessarily people looking to take hostages or cause damage, right?
Well, that's true, Jake, but in their desperation, we don't know how they'll react. So I know there was a reporting someone suspected that Cavalcante had broken in their home and stole food and fled. Well, that's good if he fled. But we might get another situation where he's shoplifting or trying to steal something else, and the person, maybe not knowing who he is going to approach this guy. He's not a very imposing figure. He's going to look like someone he can take down pretty easily. So if he panics like that and he feels he's going to be challenged, he may do something violent. So you're right. He doesn't want to bring attention to himself. But when back in the corner, we don't know how he's going to react. And given his violent history, we can only suspect that he would be violent in that situation.
Yeah, absolutely. I just mean people should go on and live their lives, not live in fear.
But be cautious at the same time.
Absolutely. Be cautious. And if you see them, either one of these criminals, avoid and call authorities. Michael.
That's crazy, man. What the fuck's going on? A convict broke his cuffs, stole the transport van, and escaped in Oregon. He made his way up to Portland and got caught after being stuck in the mud for 12 hours. That's awesome. He was entrapped in the mud for 12 hours. Lost to the environment, dude.
From Jacqueline London, officials say Cavalcante is the second prisoner to escape from Chester County Prison this year.
And police have released new video showing how he was able to break out of jail. And you can see Cavalcante approach a small hallway right there before scaling up the wall. He then goes through the razor wire, across a roof, jumps a fence, and through more razor wire before he finally gets out. This all happened on the morning of August 31st. The warden says the prison was not locked down until an hour after he escaped. Then authorities started their search, I should say. Surveillance cameras in the area captured the criminal. And on Saturday, a residential camera caught him on the 1800 block of Lenape Road in Pocopson Township, just 1.5 miles from the prison. One of the next sightings, same 2 days later, from a trail camera near Longwood Gardens. The video shows him shirtless and carrying a backpack as he moves through a heavily wooded area. And that brings us to today. 7 days into the search, Skyforce 10 is overhead as authorities work to track down Cavalcante. And NBC 10's Deanna Durante is live in Westchester with the latest details. Deanna.
Well, a series of security breaches led to this escape, according to prison officials. As you said, this is the second escape this year, the second one since May. And prison officials say a number of security patterns were in place, but clearly it was not enough. They also say a guard missed the convicted killer.
That's insane, bro. I mean, shut down the fucking prison at that point. You know what I mean? I'm surprised Republicans haven't hit this bit by being like, Pennsylvania's Democrat, brother. They're just letting criminals roam the streets, brother. That type of shit. You know what I mean?
Getting off
those DAs, brother.
The prison grounds. Video released today shows 34-year-old convicted killer Danilo Cavalcante scale a wall. Prison officials say it was quick, too quick for guards monitoring video footage to see. From there, Cavalcante made his way outside the Chester County Prison.
At 8:51 a.m., Cavalcante escapes from the prison, having crab walked up a wall, pushed his way through razor wire, run across a roof, scale another fence, and push his way through more razor wire.
And past a guard tower, where a guard was monitoring the prison yard where the inmates were.
As we develop information into this, we are certainly going to look at what the actions of that tower officer were, why he didn't observe what was occurring in that yard.
The guard now is on administrative leave. Cavalcante isn't the first escapee this summer. In May, another inmate managed to climb that wall, get to the roof, and get out of the prison yard. He was caught minutes later because the guard in the tower saw him and called for backup. Cavalcante was not discovered missing for an hour after he was already on the run.
I think it's fucked up to expect the prison guards not engage in playing Pokemon Go in the same way that cops do everywhere else. If cops get to play Pokemon Go in New York metro stations, then cops are going to do the same shit in prison too. You know what I mean? It's cop activity. Sorry, I was looking at my fucking phone, dog.
Cavalcante has clearly already obtained some clothing and unknown other supplies, and we want to minimize any opportunity to obtain anything more.
Despite sightings, police say he's managed to stay on the run now for 7 days, eluding police and surviving in extreme heat. The heat is hurting search efforts, police say, as trained dogs are affected by the heat, and some of the equipment isn't useful. But state police say when it comes to those in the area, keep your eyes opened and your doors locked.
Residents can expect to continue to see large numbers of law enforcement officers in their communities and traveling to and from assigned locations. We continue to ask for the public's help by familiarizing themselves with the photograph and description of Cavalcante, to check security cameras they have, and to call us immediately if they believe they may have seen Cavalcante.
Now, police at this point are not saying if they believe Cavalcante has gotten any outside help, if they believe any of those inmates assisted in his escape. We did ask, we saw people in the video, if they were possibly trying to distract the guards. They say that's all part of the investigation. They do tell us that in their searches, they have found items along the way in their search perimeter, but yet they can't tell us if those items belong to Cavalcante or not. The main thing here for people in Pennsbury Township, where that search perimeter exists right now, if you see anyone suspicious, call police right away. Reporting live in Westchester, Deanna Durante, NBC 10 News.
Yeah, call the cops right away so they can also not do their jobs. Bro, as that one dude said, call a crackhead. Bro, crackheads would have cracked this case. That tower guard just got fired? No. That's crazy. No. It's so funny to think that, like, we have this massive system that demands multiple millions of dollars. And, like, it's supposed to be like a well-oiled, incredibly well-funded machine. And it just happens to be super ruthless and draconian every single time it's not supposed to. And in the one instance where you expect them to be efficient and ruthless, they just can't do it. It's like, why do we have a fucking police state and a surveillance state if, like, the one instance where the police are supposed to, like, actually rise the power and meet the challenge head on, and even then they can't fucking do it? It's like a major dub for them. You know what I mean? This is a major dub for the cops. Some fucking cop to be like, that's it, we found him. This is a double murderer that escaped prison. We got him. We clapped him. And he's just fucking running around dancing. Okay? Dancing around the state of Pennsylvania in the woods. Crazy. Anyway, the only reason the inmate could escape is because he wasn't taking $1,000 of electronic equipment with him. Yeah. Exactly. Leave it up to the fucking Mexican authorities, and they would have clapped him quick, dude. They're quick with it. They're nice with it. They're nutty with it, as I've come to find. So, gonna talk about this real quick. I have no idea what's going on here, but call to activism. Don't know what they are, but they have 1 million followers. They tweeted, question, if we were given some interesting information about Tucker Carlson, should we release it? First, here's something interesting. 2 years ago, Tucker Carlson called Don Lemon a heaping, helping hunk of a man.
In the spirit of easing tensions and lowering the temperature at CNN a bit, we have no problem admitting for the record that Mr. Don Lemon is one heaping, helping hunk of a man.
In 2022, Tucker Carlson bizarrely ended a segment with a shirtless photo of Twitch streamer Hassan Piker, whom Carlson referred to as completely unprompted as one heaping, helping hunk of a man.
Is one.
Not realize, like, I can't tell if they're in on the meme or if they themselves, I can't tell if they're in on the meme or they legitimately think that this is a real segment that he put up.
This last 4th of July weekend and went up on a private beach in Italy, and we're going to go out tonight by singeing your retinas with a photograph of that event. Mr. Piker is one heaping, helping hunk of a man. Close your eyes as you go to sleep tonight and try to get that image out of your head. If you can. Tomorrow night, 8 p.m., the best night with the ones you love. See you then. Oh, Jason Chaffetz is in. For Sean, is that correct? I'm sorry, I'm hearing that.
Tucker,
Jason
what are you
Chaffetz.
doing? You put up that. Would you get every person in the country to turn off their television?
Over.
So that was like, this was a meme. This is a OK Buddy meme. It was I think it was a Hassan Abi Productions meme. Pretty sure. The wildest part about this is that, like, Henry Winkler believes it, I think. Like, a bunch of celebs have responded to this. Like, fucking Henry Winkler, dude. What the hell's going on? What the fuck is going on, dude? There's more. Hassan will be dropping a bombshell interview on Monday where I will give a tell-all on my sexual relationship with Tucker Carlson. The Fonz thinks I fucked Tucker Carlson. And I don't know how to I mean, I kind of want to, should I just retweet it and not say anything? That's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to retweet it. When you were on the Throwing Fits podcast, is it really that bad for this rumor to go around? You are the hot one in that situation? Yeah, just like Obama was the hot one in the situation between Obama and Larry Sinclair. Aw, poor baby. Just one time, I'd like the Fonz to think I fucked Tucker Carlson. That's the only thing I'd want the world to know about me. That the Fonz thinks I fucked Tucker Carlson. I just retweeted it without anything else. I want to see what people go. I want to see where this goes. But it is wild that this, like, that there are a lot of libs who genuinely think I fucked Tucker Carlson. And, you know, I'll just let him cook. All right, let's get back to some cooking. The YouTuber Ruby Frank is charged with 6 counts of aggravated child abuse. YouTuber parents should not be allowed to do that. We're going to do Isaiah Martin in a little bit as well. Yes. I'll cover that in a second. Let's talk about this YouTuber.
This morning, a Utah mother known to millions for her very strict online parenting advice is now accused of aggravated child abuse. Ruby Frankie is her name. Her YouTube videos became controversial for her take on tough love. She is due in court this morning after authorities say 2 of her own children, she has 6, were found to be abused and malnourished. Nancy Chen is here with more on the very disturbing allegations. Nancy, this is very troubling. Good morning to you.
Yeah, disturbing indeed, Gail. Ruby Frankie rose to social media fame in 2015 with her YouTube channel 8 Passengers, which featured her husband and their 6 kids. At the height of her popularity, 2.6 million people subscribed to her videos, which were all taken down after her arrest.
Welcome back to Connections. I am Ruby Frankie.
Online, Ruby Frankie promoted herself as a parenting expert with a strict, no-nonsense approach.
Up until...
Wait, what are this acting out behaviors, sneaking of clothes? What does that mean? Taking the car, stealing money, taking electronics without permission, abusive action towards siblings?
As a parenting expert with a strict, no-nonsense approach.
Up until now, I was really hoping that keeping them home from school and wiping the floorboards would really bring pain.
But now she's accused of going too far. The 41-year-old mother of 6 was arrested last...
What do you mean now she's accused? It seems like back then she was going too far. What she's describing in that situation is going too far. You can't, in the media, be like, here's some normal parenting advice she gave, and then she's like, I want to punish my children by making them feel fucking dog shit.
Last week, police say her 12-year-old son climbed out of the window of her business partner, Jody Hildebrandt's home, and ran to a nearby house, asking for food and water. The neighbor called 911.
I think he's been detained. He's obviously covered in wounds.
Bro, this is literally the average schools are gendering our children parent, by the way. You know what I mean? This is like the typical fucking, this is what I assume when I hear a motherfucker who's like, I don't want no goddamn government agent teaching my child in schools. What the fuck? Letting them call themselves whatever the hell they want to. Get the fuck out of here. It's like, I need to do homeschooling. It's like, oh, okay, got it.
Authorities say the juvenile appeared to be emaciated and malnourished, with open wounds and duct tape around the extremities. When police searched Hildebrandt's home, they say they also found Frankie's 10-year-old daughter in a similar physical condition of malnourishment. Hildebrandt was also taken into custody.
I love anger only when it's used in truth.
The two women, now charged with felony child abuse, often created controversial videos offering parenting and relationship advice for Hildebrandt's life coaching company, Connections Classroom.
Being a parent is a position of power.
In fact, some followers first raised concerns 3 years ago with an online petition calling for an investigation into Frankie.
I told the kids, I said, I'm not even going to let you eat breakfast until you get your chores done.
I think they've opened themselves up, not just to criticism, but again, potentially to more legal problems.
CBS News legal analyst Jessica Levinson.
What does it say that these charges are felony charges?
The fact that these are charges related to felonies, not misdemeanors, goes to the idea that we're talking about serious physical harm to the children.
Bro, this is literally like, this is like Andrew Tate shit. You know what I mean? Like, she had a Hustlers University scheme for child abuse, which she inevitably is going to go to jail for, in the identical fashion that, like, Andrew Tate had an online course teaching people how to do sex trafficking. Why do people think this is allowed? Like, I don't get it. I don't understand. People are just like, hey, man, it's called traditional values. It's like, no, it's not. You're going to fucking traditional ass jail, dude. The fuck? It's so shocking. The disturbing truth of family channels, the 8-passenger saga. Yeah, Jaubrey covered this in 2020, specifically this family. Here, let's take a look at what's going on here. This is the family, right? Let's watch this. I've been meaning to watch this. Jaubrey, in my headcanon, is responsible for this investigation, for the record.
He didn't eat anything. He was sleeping on the floor in the family room.
I, parent, am not responsible for how my child feels.
Jaubrey literally did this, dude. Jaubrey and Swoop. Okay, the one criticism that I have for Jaubrey is that, like, I know he scores his own videos. It's like, it doesn't have to go so hard. You know what I mean? I don't want to be finding myself bopping along when you're, like, covering mass child abuse. You know what I mean? I'm just like, yeah, that shit goes hard. It goes too hard, Jaubrey. Why does it go so hard, man? You can't be doing banger ass intros when you're like, here's some fucking information about child abuse, dude. I don't want to be fucking bobbing my head along thinking about child abuse. What the fuck?
Damn, this guy's good.